Hello, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are watching this on our page. Thank you so much for tuning in. Some exciting stuff today. I am joined with the beautiful Leann Murphy, and I'm actually lucky enough to call her my mother-in-law. So if you know her, then I'm really glad you know her. If you don't know her, I'm really sad for you if you don't know her. So she actually just within the last few months, I believe, and I'll let her talk a little more about this, she has just launched her business under a new name. So she is now under MPowered Business, and she has always, or not always, but she has helped plenty of entrepreneurs, small business owners, people similar to a lot of our clients with their financials, with their QuickBooks, all of that kind of thing. So I'm going to let her sort of introduce herself, talk about what she does on a day-to-day, and then we are going to jump into the importance, especially right now, of looking at your cash reserve and looking at your finances, because it can be very scary. It's probably scary in general for business owners, but especially during this time, we think it's super important to be looking into that and being knowledgeable about it. So take it away. I'll let you jump in here.
Thank you, Lydia. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be partnering with Ugly Mug Marketing, one of my favorite companies, and also to be talking to Lydia, one of my favorite people. And so what I do with Empower Business is just literally help small businesses. That's the name of the company. We empower business to be able to do what they do well and what they do best. And we take on the kind of behind the scenes stuff, the stuff that you need help with, whether it's bookkeeping or you need help set up your HR or figuring out procedures or a project. We just bring you the team and the resources that you need beyond what it is that you do for your customers that you do really well. And so give you kind of that, the power of a small back office behind you for a small business. So we've been working with businesses doing this off and on since the 90s. I was kind of an accidental business coach. Running my company that had some people ask me to help them do some things. And over time, just got more involved with that. And then in 2011, when I finished my stint with the Red Cross, I decided to go back into business and be an intentional business coach. And I've been doing that since 2011. So one of the things that we encourage our businesses to do early on, and that's what you mentioned, was build up a cash reserve for unexpected events. We're right in the middle of one of the biggest unexpected events I've ever witnessed in my lifetime. And so a lot of businesses are going through an unusual period of inactivity through no fault of their own. They couldn't plan for it, they couldn't prepare for it, couldn't prevent it. It just is where we find ourselves. And so preparing for that is very much on what Dave Ramsey talks about when he talks about with your family, having a reserve for your family, a 3 to 6 month reserve. We talk about that with small businesses. And you and I talked about that and discussing that from the aspect of small businesses before this hit. So one of the things that we do is we tell a business when they're first getting started, if that's when we're working with them, or even if they've been around for years and they just don't have that cash reserve, is to look at what you would need to function and to carry your business's operating cost through a set time period. Starting out, get at least a 1 month reserve and then build it to 2 months, but just depending on how big your business is and how deep your responsibilities go, you decide how long you would need that. So, for example, a couple of years ago, I started a partnership with someone, and we decided we would have a $25,000 reserve. And so what we did was we set what is the bare minimum that we can expend to keep this business growing and alive, and everything beyond that we put into a bank account until we hit that reserve level. So we said $25,000. So we went on what I would call your hustle mode. We hustled hard and we got by on minimal expenditures. We didn't make big purchases beyond what we had to for the business. We didn't take owner's draws. We simply poured into that reserve every bit of cash that we could until we hit that amount. We felt like with $25,000, even if a big unexpected event or a time period where we lost our revenue came up, we would be able to maintain our business with that $25,000 reserve. And so then what happens is when you have an unexpected, or you want to make an expenditure, buy a piece of equipment or invest in a training program, you can use that reserve, but you go back into what we call hustle mode, where you're pouring back into that reserve until it replenishes. And so that's one thing that we encourage businesses to do early on. We talk about defining what we call enough. What is enough for your business? What's the minimum that we need to do our business well, to take care of our customers? And what is the minimum that I need to have out of that business so that I can survive while I'm growing the business? Once we define enough, then you live in enough while you're in your hustle mode. And then when you have that reserve, then you can back off of that a little bit. And you can say, okay, now we're going to start taking draws. But if your draws start to deplenish your reserve, you have to pull back. So that reserve becomes this buffer for you. As you're growing, you can make a big investment in advertising, but if that advertising doesn't pay off and start replenishing that reserve, then you know you have to hustle, you have to pull back a little bit somewhere else, or you realign your marketing so that it does replenish that reserve. It's what we consider our kind of our safety net. Yeah. And you have to be very committed to it. It's tough to do, but it's amazing if you simply go at it from the mindset of defining enough and disciplining yourself to live in enough while you grow that reserve, how quickly you can do it.
Yeah, great. Yeah. I know, especially right now, and as you said, this could be for people, they've done this before this pandemic or whatever situation you want to call it, and they might have to do it after this is all over. What are some of your tips for, I'm not sure if you can think of industry specific at all, but what are some things that you could say businesses might want to or need to cut first? Because in the reality of this, that's probably going to happen for a lot of people. And I know that that's hard and that's not something that people ever want to do. But what would you advise in that situation if that was a client?
Well, so one of the things that we're talking with our clients about, we've come up with kind of 4 steps we want our clients to take right now. And one is, and they're M's, so they're always easy to remember.
Perfect.
Maintain your own health, right? It's kind of like on the plane, they put the oxygen mask on you first. If you're not healthy, if you're not well, then that's going to cripple your business. So maintain your own health, maximize productivity. So a lot of times when there's an emergency or a crisis, we kind of get in almost a panic mode. And so we find ourselves not being as productive. This is the time to maximize that productivity. So if you don't have the customer load that you normally do, then use that time to get ready for your customers. Use that time to figure out how to streamline your business. Whether that's developing procedures or it's doing the training and the certifications you've put off that you need for your business. So maximize your productivity. Don't get caught up in a panic mode. Be very methodical. Be good time managers. Minimize your expenditures. So look at where you can make those cuts. Right now, we're having conversations about call your vendors. See if they will extend your terms. Call your lenders and find out what your options are there. Call your landlord and have discussions with them about opportunities and really minimizing it. But sometimes it's little things like minimize the time that you're traveling. If you can, for one thing, we're supposed to be social distancing. A lot of us are learning that we don't really have to go to that meeting. We can hold it online, and that saves time, it saves gas. So looking at ways to make those kinds of cuts. So minimizing expenditures. So the fourth one then is mitigating loss. So maintain your health, maximize productivity, minimize expenditures, and mitigate loss. Look at where you are spending money that you're not getting a good return on that and pull back. Unfortunately, a lot of times the first place companies think about cutting is on marketing. What we have found, though, is that if you look historically, companies that continue to invest wisely in marketing during a downturn, especially a crisis, found that paid off for them in the long run. So that's not necessarily the first place we would recommend. Now, if it's not returning for you, we would say in good times, if it's not returning, you need to realign your marketing plan. And if you're working with a good marketing company like Ugly Mug Marketing, they're going to be feeding you information to show whether that it's got a return or not.
Yeah.
So looking where you can make those cuts and how you can maximize productivity, that's really where we're focusing. Of course, right now, we're also encouraging our clients to look at the SBA lending programs,
Yeah.
and those other opportunities. And that's all lots of information right now, and it's changing almost day to day. And so you have to stay very involved with it. And so if you've got a good CPA, if you've got a good relationship with your banker, those are going to be great resources. Don't rely on what you're hearing from your colleagues or social media.
Yeah.
Instead, go to the source. So right now, the two websites we're really encouraging people to stay abreast of the news within those websites is SBA.gov, smallbusinessadministration.gov, SBA.gov, and the IRS website, IRS.gov. The SBA has great information about their economic injury disaster loans. Those are available for every state that's been had a disaster declared. Louisiana, the entire state, is eligible for those. And then the other one are the Paycheck Protection Act, which is coming. We're just now getting information about that. What's unique about those, we've had economic injury disaster loans through the SBA before for things like hurricanes and the oil spill. What's unique about these is there are some opportunities to get portions of that loan forgiven. And so that's going to be really important to stay abreast of, because that can really help a small business going through a difficult time. So we really encourage people to go to SBA.gov, click on the bar at the top of it. It'll take you right to the link where you can apply for the economic injury disaster loan. You can go ahead and apply. You don't have to take the loan, because people are going, wait a minute, I might be okay. It depends on how long this lasts. You can go ahead and get in line, apply for that loan. Then at some point you can decide whether or not you're going to take that loan or what portion of it you're going to take. And then the other thing is just to really stay abreast of the IRS.gov for information on like delayed payments. You know, all of our tax deadlines have been deferred, and we're talking about some paycheck payroll tax deferrals, and even in Louisiana we've had some sales tax deferrals. We caution people, be really careful about that part of it. You need to pay your payroll taxes, and you will need to pay yourself. These are just deferred time periods. So don't spend that money that's committed to that. You need to be able to pay those. So we're really cautioning people to be very careful to protect those monies that you have in trust, like payroll taxes and sales tax, because really that money, you're just holding it. You're holding it in trust, and you need to honor that. So we encourage you to be aware of it, but be very cautious about not getting yourself overextended, and protecting those kinds of monies that are actually just yours in trust.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's my dog. Okay. Yeah.
One of your colleagues is being very loud.
Exactly. My coworker is telling me it's time for us to stop. But that was some really helpful information. So I'll be sure to include those links either in this description or in some comments below, so people can access those there. So thank you so much for spending some time talking about this. I know this is probably one of the harder topics to cover, because it can be a harsh reality for some people, but I think covering it is definitely important. So again, thank you so much to everyone watching. I hope this has given you some hope. Do you have any parting words?
You know, I would just really encourage you, if Ugly Mug Marketing is putting out some great information. There's some other really good resources out there. If you're in Central Louisiana, I can't not plug the Business Acceleration System and CLETA. They do great work with entrepreneurs. If you're not familiar with them and you're anywhere in Central Louisiana, you need to log on to sinlaw.org and check out that opportunity. And then if we can ever be of any service, please don't hesitate to call. This is what I love to do, is working with small businesses and helping them overcome hurdles so they can be everything they want their business to be.
Definitely. Yes. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to head out. I hope this was informational, educational, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.